BA Blocks, brought to you by learn.ba.
So the word solution and the word product get used interchangeably in our profession, and that's what I want to cover in this video, because those two words are similar, but they do not mean the same thing. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you, number one, about the difference between a product and a solution. Number two, I want to talk to you about why that difference is important. And then number three, I'll try to offer you some advice on how you can distinguish from one from the other on any given project. So for most people, they use those words interchangeably. And I think for most people who are not experts in this area and who are not in our profession, the professional business analysis or in software development or anywhere in that group of professions, for people that are not in that group of professions, they'll use those terms interchangeably because really they don't understand the difference, and a lot of times they really don't need to understand the difference. Us as professionals, we have to understand that difference because it makes a difference in the work that we actually do. So let's start off with number one, which is the definition of a product versus a definition of a solution. So I'll offer you a very simple formula that will hopefully make the difference between these definitions stick in your mind. And the formula is as follows. Solution is equal to process plus product. Okay, if that makes sense. So I'll repeat that. Solution is equal to process plus product. So if you use that equation, just remember that equation anytime you're confused about the difference between the two, and you'll understand that a solution is all encompassing, and whereas a product typically only refers to the system side of a solution. Okay, so when somebody says we're delivering a product, typically what that means is that they're delivering a system which has a set scope of functionality that's attached to it, right? The product doesn't typically include the process improvement part of a project, right? So, but the solution does. So when you say solution is equal to process plus product, basically what we're saying here is that in order for us to deliver a complete solution, we have to deliver a product along with a process that goes along with it, right? And the process is really a lot more on the business side of things. This is how the business functions, or how the business needs to function in the new world in order for the entire solution to work as one unified solution. But essentially, the process part of it is sometimes neglected, especially if you have a very IT-focused IT department or IT-focused project manager or project. Typically, a lot of the process side stuff is either not addressed at all, or the process side of things will be really just kind of separated out as something that the business has to deal with in isolation on their own. And that solution, thinking of things in that way, doesn't really help to deliver the best solutions, right? So that's the definition of a solution versus a product. And the importance, again, is that in your work, it makes a huge difference, because whether you're delivering a process along with the solution or not, actually affects the scope of work you have to do. The day-to-day tasks that you have to do as a business analyst are affected by whether you have to do a lot of process design work with the solution that you're delivering, or whether you're just going to be focusing a lot more heavily on the system side, right? For us as professionals, it makes a huge difference. And so understand that difference, and a few pieces of guidance on how to take those differences into account on different projects you might have. So you'll have some projects that are strictly IT projects, and so the process component is typically not going to be part of the scope of the project. It'll be either something that is completely just pushed onto the business as a responsibility that they have to fulfill, or it will be something that is not going to change from what exists today. So you're basically just delivering a totally new product, and the process isn't likely going to change very much once that's delivered, right? In those two instances, the fact that you have a process along with the solution doesn't really make that much of a difference. There are a lot of, most projects don't fall into that category, or they may fall into that category, but my take on that is that they should not, because if you're delivering a new system or a new product, the business is not really going to benefit. They're not going to realize the full benefit of that product unless they do some internal changes in how they perform their duties, right? And so in a lot of cases, and this is kind of like to be taken on a case-by-case basis, there are certain circumstances where it may make sense for it to do that. But again, it's taken on a case-by-case basis, project-by-project basis. But as an analyst, what you have to do is that you have to very clearly define your scope of work on the projects that you work on. And part of defining that scope of work means that you have to get management to decide, either the project manager or the leadership group or the management of the IT and the business side, to decide what your scope of work is going to be for any given project that you have on your plate. Because whether you have to do process design or not, it's going to consume your time. It has to be part of the estimates that you provide to your project manager, and it makes a real difference. The difference between product and solution in your world makes a huge difference, right? So on a project by project basis, what you should be doing is that you should be clarifying the scope to say, hey, are we looking in our future state? Are we looking to make a lot of process changes? Because if that's the case, then I have to allocate a lot of analysis time. I have to put that in my work breakdown structure for the analysis work that needs to be done to make sure that we do that adequately, and that we don't just try to do that on a haphazard basis or a kind of like on an ad hoc basis, right? You want to plan for that work so that you have the adequate time to do a lot of the process design work that needs to be done. And as part of the defining your work, part of the work breakdown structure, you have to define who's going to be leading the process design part of this. Is it going to be the analyst, or is it going to be sometimes on projects, on much larger projects, you'll have a professional, a process design professional, who is dedicated strictly to the process design part of the solution, right? And so when you're thinking through, and if you've been asked to develop a work plan, that is a very large scope item that you have to take into account, and you have to be able to decide, is this in, is this out? Well, the way you decide that really is determined by your definition of the word product versus the word solution, right? If you're delivering a total solution, your take on that should be that, yes, we should have a large process design or some significant line item in our work plan to make sure that the process design part of this project gets done properly, right? So that's the difference. Understand basically from your point of view as a professional that you have to have a much clearer understanding of a lot of the terminology that's out there than your clients might have, or what the general public might have. As professionals, we have to make sure that we understand a lot of these intricacies, because these intricacies have a huge impact on the way we do our work. And the difference in the definition between the word solution and the word product is a perfect example of that. I'll leave the video there. I do have an entire lesson that I'm teaching in the BA Blocks program that talks about the solution and also talks a lot more about how you can structure the products, right? So there are different layers that you have inside of the product. So the analyst's view of a product happens across 5 different layers, and I talk a lot about that in the lessons that we have in our BA Fundamentals block of the BA Blocks program. If you're interested in that, you can sign up at our website to take some of the free blocks and then decide whether that's something that you're interested in continuing on to learn. You head over to learn.ba and sign up for your free membership and start your learning with some of the basic lessons, and then hopefully you'll be in a much better position to make a decision as to whether wanting to learn a lot more about this profession is something that you're interested in pursuing. I'll leave it here, and I'll see you on the next one.